The Edify Show with special guests Brian Bird, Jen Lilley, Brandon Clark, and now the host of The Edify Show, Elliott Wallach.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the Edify Show. We're going to be talking today about a movie called Little Women's Christmas, brought to you by one of the producers of Wind Calls the Heart. I'm talking about our own Brian Bird, a.k.a. Papa Hardy. So for those of you that are a fan of the novel, wait till you see this adaptation. It's terrific. And guess what? This was written by a Hardy, by a woman that Brian had met at the Hardy's family reunion. How crazy is that? And we're going to interview him shortly, along with the director, Brandon Clark, and one of the lead actresses, Jen Lilley. But first, let's take a look at the trailer.
Joe, you were starting to tell us about your new book earlier.
YA? Like yield analysis?
YA means young adult. Has it been hard to pivot genres like that? It seems a lot different than writing kids' books.
I've shared this with the publishers board. They would like for you to start over. A page 1 rewrite.
Joe's here!
I'm flying home in the morning for Christmas, a family tradition.
Try to enjoy your Christmas and then write like the wind, Joe.
Good evening, Alcott Grove. DJ Bob the Music Man here. We wish you a blessed Christmas with all the people that love you.
But where are the decorations? Don't tell me Mom didn't do her thing before the missions trip.
They thought the four sisters could have fun putting up everything this year.
Oh, it depends on what look you're going for.
Traditional Christmas tree.
I've just been so worried about John making it home that I failed my oldest sister duties.
Did you see the author that just left my office? She's really struggling to find her voice. I need you to find out why.
She live in the city and set up a meeting.
I was thinking more along the lines of a house call.
A what?
I'm gonna make you editor on this project. Book a flight to Tennessee. See if you can't help her get past this little creative impasse she's at.
It's you.
Hi, do we know each other?
People call me Fritz.
People call me Joe.
Now, what brings you to Alcott Grove?
I'm a travel writer. Honestly, I didn't mean for this to happen, but I've made it a little awkward for myself. Joe!
Hi, Ken. You got a wife or a girlfriend? Or...
No, I'm just here by myself. You know, I could use someone to show me around town for the travel story.
The March family's been here forever. They know everything about this town.
Not everything.
Show this man some Alcott Grove hospitality.
Ben has a thing for your sister.
You're catching the Alcott Grove Christmas spirit.
That's I'm here to pick you up for your date.
It's not a date.
Fritz, right? That's Swedish?
I don't see how you can help her if you're not honestly representing yourself.
You ever feel like you're pretending to be someone you're not?
Christmas is the story of love, and that love sets us free.
We are a sister, not a forced trends. Not easily broken. He's home. Oh, fine.
You guys can watch that exclusively on the Great American Family Channel, Saturday, November 23rd. I've seen it. You're going to love it. And I've got Brian Bird and the director Brandon Clark and actress Jen Lilley here to talk about it. You guys, thanks so much for being on the program.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
You know, I watched Little Women. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I'll admit something to you, and it was towards the end, but it actually got me choked up. And I didn't get to watch it with my wife. Normally when I get choked up, I always look at her, and then she's bawling. But she wasn't there. I had to watch it by myself, but it did. It melted my dark, cold, black heart, you know, in there. So well done. Brian's one of those few guys that has like 5,000 people or whatever on his Facebook friends, and they're actually friends. And was there anybody you didn't invite to be in this movie?
I have one aunt in Albuquerque, New Mexico, who couldn't make the trip to get there, but everybody else pretty much.
It's like a Brian Bird family affair every time, dude. It just grows too. It doesn't stay down. It grows.
The thing about it is, like, you got Gladys Knight. I mean, you just got so many. You got Jesse Hutch, you got so many people. This is an ensemble cast. Jen, how did it feel to be working with so many different actresses and your peers and just all of this that really was this collaboration of women, much like the novel?
It was so much fun. I mean, honestly, Trevor Donovan and Jesse Hutch, I was just doing an interview the other day, and they were like, who's your favorite co-star you've ever worked with? And I said, I'll give you my top 3. And Jesse Hutch and Trevor Donovan were 2 of the 3. So it was amazing to work with them. It was really great to work with Brandon, especially not only because Brandon's amazing, but because Brandon's really good friends with Trevor. So it was really fun to watch their dynamic, Laura Osnes. And I was so excited to see Julia Reilly as well, because that was a surprise. I didn't know she was going to be part of the movie. And Jillian Murray, of course, is amazing. And then Brian, we have so many mutual friends and contacts who over the years are like, why do you guys not know each other? And it was our first time working together. Kyle Cupecky did a great job. And Charlize Hutch made
Introducing.
her
Yeah.
and Jesse's and Lorelai's daughter, and she really knocked it out of the park. So, I mean, it was extremely delightful for me to not only work with my friends, which was fun, but also to work with really seasoned actors. So I absolutely loved it. And I think it was very easy to get caught up in the scene work and feel like it was real, because we did have relationship, off screen as well.
Charlton Heston, at one point, it seemed like he was making all the faith-based films. You have so many Christmas movies. Has anybody put that together? Like, I think casting you in a Christmas movie is a really smart move.
It's true. Another person has been coined the Queen of Christmas, and I love that person. But it is funny because people often call me that, and I'm like, no, that's been coined by somebody else who I really love. I happen to, I don't even know how many, a dozen. And I have, this one and 2 more this year, and I'm going to do another in December and another in January. And then I got an offer for another in February and March. And I was like, it's great, but how many times do you want to see me in your stocking? I guess.
I'd say let's just keep it going. Some kind of domain name. I don't know. I'll get back with your people.
It's a JenLilleyChristmas.com,
Yes.
There we go. Okay. It's taken. They're all taken. I thought, you talked about with Jesse Hutch, who he feels like somebody built in a basement of parts from Lesser Hardee's or something. He just seems like the nicest guy.
That's a very funny way to describe Jesse. He is the nicest guy, and he is a tremendous actor. I mean, Jesse can do comedy. Jesse can do drama. Jesse can jump taller than me from the floor because he's doing a military thing. So he trained. I'm 5'2". The man can jump from the floor higher than my head on a platform without a trampoline. There's nothing he can't do.
Between him and Trevor and Brandon, it was almost like looking at the set of the Predator movie. There was so much athletics going on.
We needed to balance out the estrogen, though, to be fair.
Amen. Thank you, Jen. I was losing my mind day one.
I would like to, pat myself on the back, though. I feel like I had you.
You did. Yeah. Actually, without you, I don't know what I would. You took over as a leader right away, and I needed that to happen.
It was the boy mom. I was like, oh, these poor boys and all these women.
You see these guys, but on film, but when you meet them in person, they're not really that tall. Trevor, he's only, he's 6'3". So, but when you got the director, nobody's going to come up to you and say, I think I'd like to arm wrestle to the death. I don't think you're going to get a lot of that.
Somebody left a comment lately, and they kept messaging going, oh, my favorite dynamic duo. I don't know, Trevor and I, it's only our second movie. I'm like, I don't know if you can say that yet. But there is something about when you really know somebody, and it does help a lot. And I know that, I lived with Trevor even. So it's like, I have a different dynamic of knowing him and knowing how to speak to him. And he, I'm going to be biased here, but I do think it's Trevor's best performance I've seen him do.
I thought it was phenomenal. And just looking at him too, it's one of those guys that's because, I don't even know if you know, but he was a graphic designer, which means he was an artist. He was this really successful skier, and he's a great actor, and I was voted most likely to embarrass my parents. So I don't know.
Trevor's a jack of all trades like Jesse. They're both one and the same. It's crazy. And they're the nicest guys on the planet. And honestly, that goes into casting because you want to have like-minded souls on your project so that the creativity is a collaboration and a loving environment, because that shows up in front of the lens.
And we also, and I also say that it's an embarrassment of riches in an ensemble like this.
Yeah.
To have Jen Lilley and Jillian Murray and Trevor Donovan and Jesse Hutch and Laura Osnes, Julia Reilly, and Gladys Knight thrown in.
Jen, we were talking off camera that it felt like to me there were so many parallels with a lot of the story, like with your work with foster children and everything. Did you have a lot of input into the story, or were you just Dion's muse?
Well, it's very interesting because Dion actually did a vision board when she started writing it 5 years ago, and I was her original Meg. And so I don't know, you'd have to ask her, but she said that I inspired Meg a lot. So I don't know whether it was a coincidence or not. But I cannot personally take credit for any of it other than if it was observed and then implemented.
We heard that as well, Jen, that she had envisioned you as Meg from the very beginning. So I do think
I never knew that.
Yeah, yeah. Jen
she
had
showed me. She was like,
yeah.
look, this is my
Dion
Pinterest.
told me that. Yeah, 100%. And it's an interesting story how Dion came to us with this project. Dion, I first met when she came up, and Elliott is our MC at our Hardy's family reunions, and so he's been there almost every year. And Dion, as a college student, came to one of our big Hardy's live fan events up in Vancouver, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, and just a college student going to Stanford at that time. I met her, and she went on to sort of take the inspiration from being part of that Wind Calls the Heart, fan world, fan army. And she wrote this screenplay, an original draft of this screenplay way back in the day.
It's fun to kind of get to see the passion where it's like this 8-year journey to get this made, where you're like, well, or I could become a neurologist or the movie, Was there any particular part, especially as a director, where you're just diving so deep into this? Was there any really particular part that spoke to you, Brandon, when you were watching it?
There's a scene where the 4 girls are on the couch and Jen walks in, and I purposely didn't have her being seen walking in because you need to carry that presence of the nurturer. And I didn't want to carry her in. And a lot of times, well, you don't have that covered. Well, I did it on purpose because I really wanted to press. By the time she comes in, she's going to shift the atmosphere for what Joe is going through at that moment. And the girls are all looking for that, where that atmosphere changed. And the atmosphere changed because she's the leader. She's the oldest sister. And it sets up the character dynamic very specifically. But if I had, I also did 2 more scenes that I think are very important. I was really adamant about bringing Stable Reserve, the coffee shop, more up and significantly placing Joe and Fritz in a same spot over and over again, where they first met and where they will finally be there together again. And when they're sitting at the chair together and they're finally getting along and she leaves them with a little peck on the cheek, I love that scene. It's so simple, but there's so much going on. We got A Wonderful Life on the marquee in the background at the theater that we just did the premiere in. And it's just less is more, and it allows the actors to just have this freelance.
When you mentioned the coffee shop, Brandon, the one scene that jumps out to me that I just got the biggest kick out of for so many reasons, but it was when Fritz had his black coffee and she had this like diabetic nightmare, the 4-pump, whatever. I swear, the thing I thought is I want to go into a coffee place with like a hidden camera and I want to order that thing and just see what they say with it. And I just loved how he like stuck his foot totally in his mouth, ordering the coffee and then talking bad about it. And then she gets delivered this cup of syrup. We say, people with their sparkly sugar and all that. I thought it was creative, but at the same time, believable.
Yeah.
You could just see it happening.
It's kind of, I make this joke, and I think Brian and I were talking about it when we were like making the flirt dynamic of it. I'd be the black coffee guy, but you have fall, and all of a sudden women are like pumpkin spice lattes and Ugg boots and da-da-da. And I was like, oh, this is the same thing. We're just going to run this course right now because it's the season. Also, they change different coffees they're drinking during the fall as it just as the winter, and now we're in Christmas, and it's like I'm getting pictures of different cups coming in. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was like, I felt like it was relatable.
Yeah, it's a subtext too of throwing people, opposites attract.
Yes,
right. So this guy's got to figure out a way to win his way into her heart, right? And he steps in it the very first moment that he meets her, which is kind of great. And
which
you know,
leads him into actually lying about what he actually is there to do right after, just to save himself.
Well, it was a cool vehicle too, where the pastor comes in, and it's like it didn't seem so forced. Where he's like, I'm not going to embarrass her. I'm not going to do it in front of him, and then I'll go this, and then all of a sudden he's just caught. You know, he's just caught. You know, and I could see it where, as a guy, I could see where you want to impress a girl and you go that direction. Like, look, I'm about health and everything else. You don't fully expect, then, you know, and then she goes the completely opposite. And I've done that, you know, where you just completely stick your foot in it. You can ask my wife, probably did it today, you know.
The flirting dynamic with them was really great too. And I think what helps is I talk a lot of smack to Trevor, and I kept doing that. And it pressed Jillian to jump into that margin too. So the sarcasm level went up, and I'm like, this is what we need right now. Let's keep going here.
And then, because I had worked with Trevor, Brandon let me insert the line, "Hiya, Ken."
Yeah. And we put it in the trailer. I'm like, we got to keep this. This is a fly
I know,
right now.
and Trevor didn't know I was gonna do it, but
No, we didn't want him to know.
asked Brandon and Brian, because when Trevor and I did a movie together, we did USS Christmas together. I had long blonde hair and he had short military hair. And every morning I was like, we literally look like we just stepped out of the Mattel factory. Like, it was so funny. So I had to bring,
It's funny. I didn't know what the Ken reference was. That is okay. So it's like,
Look at him.
yeah,
He gets it all the time.
Oh,
And-
I know.
And to be honest with you, he
I know.
hates it, but it was perfect for us because we're the ones that could get away with it. And we're like, okay, let's do it. And then because Jen did that, I had Jillian at it when he came out in the Santa's costume. So then Jen gave me that idea, and I'm like, we got to keep going with this. Like, it's hilarious.
So Jen, could you tell me how your involvement with the film, like where it began and what you thought, what your initial reactions were?
I mean, my involvement is I'm very good friends with Jesse Hutch. He and I have done, I guess this is only our second movie together, but we did a movie. But funnily enough, I mean,
But it feels like 20.
no, it's because so we did this movie together called Be and Be Merry, and then I'm very into marketing, and I ended up hosting the Chicago Thanksgiving Parade, and then I roped Jesse into that, and then suddenly we became the parade people. So Jesse and I have
I do remember this.
a number of parades together, and projects you don't get paid for, and so we're always just kind of like bringing each other onto whatever gigs we have. I mean, he called me yesterday about doing another Christmas movie with me, and I was like, listen, if you can't fit it into your schedule, you know that he and I will kind of always try to work together. So Jesse Hutch totally roped me in on this one. But then when I found out that Trevor was probably going to be the lead, I called up Trevor. I got the scoop from him. And then Jillian and I have the same attorney. So it was just kind of kismet. But I will gladly blame, in the most complimentary way, Jesse Hutch for dragging me into it. So.
And do you remember what you thought when you first heard the story? Or when you
I
know
was
the concept?
excited. I was very excited because, I love Little Women. I read it in 4th grade. I'm very nerdy, and I was excited to read a 568-page book in 4th grade. So I remember the page. Yeah. So yeah, I was very excited. And then when I found out I was going to play Meg, or I was up for the role of Meg, I was very happy about that too, because Meg was always my favorite character. So.
But I couldn't help but see you and Beth, where she's working with the foster children and the other children. And, because I know you've got a real heart for that. When you saw that in the script, did that speak to you?
It did. I remember thinking, like, do you want me as Meg or Beth? And Laura and I saying the same thing, that she and I could have kind of traded parts. But I was really happy that I got to play Meg. And but I just loved that the charitable element and bringing in children who are in foster care made its way into the story. So, and I was excited that another actress got to play that too, because I think, and I want everybody to be on board for giving sunlight to that issue and making it less scary. And I know, Brandon, you also specifically have a heart for children in foster care. You've done a lot in that arena.
Been doing it for 12 years. It's one of the best, most rewarding things in the world. And I didn't know this about Jen. We were learning as we got on set, but That's just one of the most wonderful things where God, ordains things, and you get to have the perfect cast you're supposed to have for many other reasons than just the movie. Yeah, no, it's important. We have a foster kids sports camp in Florida that we do, and Javen's part of it. Who's Pastor Henderson at his church is the big foundation behind all of it and everything. So there's a lot of cohesiveness.
Jen, was there anything that jumps out at you this moment in the film that you remember as you were making it touched you deeply, or more than any other?
Just the sister dynamic. I'm also one of 4, but not 4 girls. And I think that there is a sibling dynamic, of any that is just so poignant and so palpable, especially during the holiday season where you do have time to be a bit more grounded. I mean, the 2 scenes that stood out to me, though, for 2 different reasons. One was the pizza scene where, Amy builds burns the casserole, and we're just in sweats, kind of laughing about like boys, yield analysis versus young adult. And I just really liked that scene because I don't think ever in these movies you get to just eat. And if you're going to eat, you're definitely not going to eat pizza. And it just felt like a very real, grounded scene to me that felt like a moment where you get to kind of see into the window of this family's life. And I loved it. I mean, I know it's not traditionally going to fit.
I love when in the scene you asked me, you're like, wait, we're really getting paper plates? Or we're really going to eat pizza?
I couldn't believe it. I was like, I don't know that the network's going to like paper plates, because everything always looks so perfect in these movies. But we all loved it. We were like, this is fun to have like a ponytail, God forbid, and a sweatshirt on. But that's life. And I thought that it was such a wonderful setup. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And the 3 sisters, obviously sort of like trying to manipulate, Joe into a new relationship is the most fun ever. Right. Because they don't need a relationship. They already have relationships, but Joe is clearly in need of a relationship. And so the meddling that they do with her is fantastic.
Yeah.
And, they just gang up on her, emotionally gang up on her to get her to go out with this guy. So it's just so good.
And again, it's just believable. Of course, those sisters are going to jump in and say, that guy walking in like he looks, are you kidding me? And this winning Powerball ticket, you're not going to pick it up?
And Jen kind of gave it with like a little flirtatious thing to go, hey, Joe, this is how you should do it right now. And give this man some Alcott Grove Christmas spirit. It was actually, I love that. It was a fun scene. And I shot it in a certain way so each girl reveals as we go. So it's like the next, all of a sudden there's more. And there's another one. Every time we cut back, there's another one appearing. And you're like, wait, how is this ever going to end? And they're all chiming in one after the other.
So tell me about the concert scene at the end. I mean, I have to think that had to be, was that the most challenging day of the shoot, or am I missing something?
It was the most challenging. It's a big day. And the church scene was a huge day. Right. And we have over 300 extras. It was a late night.
Well, we didn't finish until like 3 a.m.
Yes.
With all of that.
But
wow.
It was an ultimate. And when you have, plus we had a gospel choir, we have a band, and so you have to do things in pieces. So I break it up so that we can knock things out and then bring in the big chaos to get that all done. And then we worked in reverse at the end. And then it's also, Gladys can only work for a certain amount of hours for a certain time frame. So we just ran the track, let her do ad-libs, and we actually cut our own version of the song live with the master version for the movie.
And by the way, that's an original Gladys Knight song.
Yes.
Nobody will have ever heard this song. It's brand new, and it's Gladys Knight, the Empress of Soul, eight Grammy Award winning Gladys Knight, Midnight Train to Georgia, Empress of Soul, singing an original song for us in our movie. That's just huge. I got a call from her business, one of her business partners in Empress of Soul Productions about 3 years ago. And it's a woman that worked with me on one of the first shows that I ever did, going way back to the early 1990s, called The Family Man. And Joyce Miller, Roy, is their business partner. She called me out of the blue and said, if I could put Gladys Knight on the phone with you, would that be okay? And I said, what do you mean Gladys Knight? Like the Gladys Knight? What are you talking about? Me? Why does she want to talk to me? So I did. And she said, baby, could you put me in a rom-com? I just love rom-com. And I said, Yes, of course we can. We will absolutely figure that out, right? I didn't know what it would be. And then so we made another Great American Family movie a couple of years ago with Paul Green and Jessica Lowndes and Gladys Knight, where she gets to sing in that movie too. An original song cooked up for that movie. It was more of a trio between the three of them, and then she played a small role in that film as well. So when her husband wrote this song, like that we recorded and we put in the movie.
William is awesome.
William is her manager husband for the last 30 years. And he's a songwriter too. So he said, hey, I'd love to, if you guys are doing any more Christmas movies, I'd love to contribute something. Let me write a song for you. And so he submits this demo to us, and I sent it to Brandon, and we just go, are you kidding me? This is fantastic. And so we said, okay, well, can we get Gladys to sing this? And he said, oh yeah, no problem.
You know what I love about William and the connections, how these go together? Brian sets this up. I get on a phone with William, and it's like instant, connection and bromance. And then he understands the artistry of it so much that he's like, take it, run with it. Because he knew we'd have to do what we have to do for the movie, and which originally he wrote an R&B song, which was great. And then we transitioned into a gospel song, and Jabin, the pastor, obviously we added his vocals to it too. And he went in and did a whole gospel rendition, just like he did for Nick Jonas on Jealous. And I was like, we got to do it like that. That's the vibe we need for this. And William heard it after Mauricio got his hands on it. Mauricio Guerrero, and got a bunch of Grammys too. It's a great team. And he did the instrumental stuff. He's like, oh, this is fire. I'm like, yeah, we were on to something. This song is great. Yeah. This movie needed a lot of music.
Yeah.
And it's going to come out as a single, right? Yeah.
Yep. Working on it right now.
Because it's not like there's too many people doing these kind of movies. Like this is rare. Like these movies that you see on a handful of small networks, right, are pretty much the only. They're the only networks doing this kind of content.
I love the genesis of it, where you have it happen literally from a Hardy. I enjoyed it. I think the Hardys are absolutely going to love it. Now, when can people see it?
November 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern on Great American Family.
So get the word out, you guys. Like and share, and get out this interview, get out the trailer, and make sure people know. Thanks so much, you guys. Thank you so much for just coming on the program and telling us about it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Honor.
Thank you, Elliott.
Okay, you guys, mark your calendars for Saturday, November 23rd on the Great American Family channel. You can watch Little Women's Christmas. Thank you so much to our guests, Brian Bird, Brandon Clark, and Jen Lilley. And don't forget to tune in next Hardy TV Tuesday for our When Calls the Heart interview, as we all wait anxiously for season 12. And we'll see you then on The Edify Show.
Tune in next week for Hardy TV Tuesday. Elliott will be interviewing best-selling author Jeanette Oak on the set of When Calls the Heart. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube page. And never miss a thing when you register at hardys.com, and you'll qualify for a chance to win weekly prizes. And we'll see you next week on The Edify Show.